Today's Home Appreciation Show is brought to you by Allied Siding and Windows.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Great Day Houston. If your house was flooded by Harvey, chances are this is a very familiar sight. On today's show, we're going to help you rebuild the right way so you're not wasting more money further on down the road. Also, toward the end of the show, we're going to focus on the do's and don'ts of hiring a contractor. Let's start off by meeting today's homeowner who has some great advice for all of us, even though sometimes advice is easier said than done. Good morning, Elise.
Good morning. How are you?
Good. Let me first start out by saying how sorry I am about what happened.
Thank you.
Because it's
Appreciate
just one of those things that you don't prepare for.
No.
And a lot of people were kind of dumbfounded when it happened, didn't know who to call. How did you know who to call to get you this far?
Well, we had just bought the house and had some renovations done by a company called Allied Sidings and Windows, and they had replaced 33 windows. They did all the gutters, they did replaced all the wood on the outside by hardy plank. And they sent me an email that they also did this kind of work. So we were like, oh, thank you. So I was immediately on the phone with Tracy and I said, Tracy, I can't get back in my house yet because the water is still in there, but please put me on your list because I want you to do this job. And she said, no worries. I will put you on the list. As soon as you can get back in, just give us a call. And we got a crew in there, and that's what happened.
Yeah.
And as you can tell, they did an amazing job. So it's really peace of mind.
Yeah, and speaking of peace of mind, you have some advice for folks. And of course, advice is sometimes hard to take when you're dealing with something this traumatic. But what is that?
Don't dwell on what you've lost. I mean, I know that's hard, but in the end, you got to move on, and it's holding you back. Yeah. So, and again, I know that's hard, and it's easy advice to give, but it helped us.
One of the things that was not lost is something that actually traveled around the world with you. You may have noticed that she has an accent. She's from the Netherlands, and there is the piece right there that has made it around the world.
Oh, yes.
Elise, thank you.
You're welcome.
Many of you are used to seeing Leonard Courtright on the show all the time with Allied Siding and Windows, but we're looking at windows and siding. Fact of the matter is, you do that and everything else, including the kitchen sink. Right?
We do, Deborah. You know, Harvey has changed a lot of people. It's changed their homes, obviously. It's changed our business models. So we have literally thousands of customers in Houston that have reached out for help. In fact, Elise, the home that we're in, we had recently done some work and we were reaching out to just double check and make sure they were okay, find out she was flooded, and here we are. So we have put into place our interior program, which handles all the demo and the dry out and all that. But it's something that you really want to make sure is done right. So we're using the right tools and the right people to get it done right.
In fact, they suggest that some people will file bankruptcy because of shoddy work.
That's right. What they're saying is that foreclosures may be 3 or 4 times what they were in 2009 because 3 reasons. Number one is home abandonment. They may be, you know, over leveraged in their home. They have 80% of people didn't have flood insurance, and if they already owe too much. The other may be just losing the mortgage. I've lost my job, I'm working less hours. But the third is where we're coming in. It's called substandard build back. What they're finding is people that are trying to do it kind of piecemeal it themselves out of desperation to get it fixed and get it fixed cheap. They've got their brother-in-law doing the sheetrock and their nephew doing the floor, and they're not getting it dried out properly first.
If your brother-in-law and nephew are really contractors, that's one thing. But
if they know what they're doing, that's right.
Yeah, they're doing a lot of DIY that they shouldn't be doing.
But the point is, when you go to resell your home, or more importantly, refinance your home, if all you have is a bunch of receipts from Home Depot and Lowe's, it's really not evidence that the work was done right. So it's going to dramatically devalue your home, and you may not be able to refinance or, for that matter, resell it. So you want to make sure it's done right, where you can show a new buyer, here's the company that did it. Like when we were doing the dry out, we come back daily and check the moisture in the home and make sure that everything's getting to the right moisture before we build back. People aren't doing that when they're doing it DIY.
Yeah, and Darren, you know, we certainly appreciate all those volunteers that were out there in the initial stages of just kind of getting that sheetrock knocked out and taken out. But that was kind of the first phase, and now's the part where you have to really be careful and make sure it's done correctly. You mentioned the moisture, for example. I don't see any water in this house, but yet there's moisture coming from somewhere.
Right, yeah. So a lot of people know about using dehumidifiers, but a lot of times it's a big box store special type dehumidifier, which is not nearly the application that you're looking for. That's for kind of everyday, or a box fan, something like that to move the air. So you can see with the commercial grade equipment that we use that is necessary to dry it out. We may use some of the smaller ones for some supplementary issues to draw that moisture out. But what we're trying to do is decrease the humidity, not just the ambient humidity in the house, but also all the framing members. So most people don't know it, but you know, kind of an average comfortable humidity level in a house is about 45%. That sounds a little high, but that's kind of normal as far as being comfortable in a house.
Yeah.
What we're trying to do is draw it down to about 40% inside the house, but the framing members have to be ultra dry. We got to get those down to about 15% before we even consider trying to close it back up, or we're going to trap something in there cause that problem that you're referring to about, you know,
mold and all that stuff that comes back months later, and easier said than done, because a lot of people are going, well, we've had some time, but Houston is a humid place, so you're fighting natural humidity.
And they look dry, but you use a moisture meter to actually check that in all those different areas, and it's a whole different story.
Yeah, is that what you have in your hand right there?
That's what I've got in my hand. We've got a couple of different types that we use. All of our salesmen have it, all of our installers have it, so that we can check those things, and like Leonard mentioned, you know, monitor that, keep track of that, so we can document that for you, that it was dry before anybody made an attempt to try to close that wall back up.
Yeah.
We had a customer call and say, my home is dusty, it must be ready. Well, as you can tell, it's dusty and kind of dirty, but it's the water you can't see, and that's what's most dangerous. And as Darren said, you don't want to trap that behind the wall.
The water that's like in here in these tubes that we're talking
Again,
about.
the floor looks dry, but there's a lot of water still in this home that you can't see.
Yeah, the other thing is killing the bacteria and the smell and all that type of stuff.
Right, so regardless of how clean it is, you still have that kind of issue. What we address it with is we use a fogger, and we use a botanical chemical with it, and it's an industrial grade like they use in hospitals to kill all the germs, and it kills 99% of the germs and the bacteria and the mold. But if you know much about mold, it's not just killing it, it's also addressing the mold spores, because it can be dead, but those spores can still cause problems. So the chemical that we use actually has an encapsulant in it to capsulate those mold spores, so they're not dispersed throughout the system. So when we run it, we fog the whole house, the AC vents are running and everything to encapsulate that, so that it becomes a non-issue if it does
And this is a case
exist.
where you want the AC vents running, because it kind of takes all that through there to clean out everything.
Right.
The other thing we're having people say is that maybe they're trying to stay in the second floor of the home, but it's the smell. Well, this fogger will kill the bacteria, which does, by the way, kill the smell as well. So these are just real things that people have to deal with.
Yeah. All right. So as people are going through kind of rebuilding, you say that there is kind of a tiny, tiny, tiny silver lining. A lot of the homes were built years ago, and they don't have the modern, finishes in it. Now you're going to get those modern finishes. So there's a process that you want to go through to make sure people get exactly what they want.
There really kind of is a silver lining in this, how to make lemonade out of lemons.
Yeah.
And that is that you can have the home you want at your old address. So you really can't take this opportunity if you say, I always wanted a kitchen island, or I didn't want a kitchen island.
Yeah.
Now is the time you can make some of those changes. So we have some really awesome build back features that you very affordably can upgrade the look of your home. We'll show you some examples of those.
Yeah. You also custom walls and ceilings
That's
as
right,
well.
exactly, that's right. So we can put a real custom product on the wall, very affordably, but it really does change the look of the room. In fact, it's the most inexpensive way to change the look of a room. Whether your home was flooded or not, we can do that for you. But when you're building back, if you want to make some changes, now is the time.
Yeah, okay, now to the thing that we know you for, windows. There are still some homes in Houston that have wood frame windows. We certainly know if it's wood, it's not if but when, it's going to get real soft, and you got termite issues. Also, if you had just builder grade windows, which don't really do the trick as much as the Symington ones will.
Yeah, a couple of things. First of all, if in the flood water touched the windows, you're going to need to replace those windows, and we can take care of that for you. But if you were fortunate not to have any flooding, we can take care of those windows and get you a comfortable temperature in every room of the house, rather than cooling the outside, but make every room the same comfortable temperature and lower your energy bills by about 25%. So we're in a home that doesn't have air conditioning. It's a little warm in here, obviously. We can keep that warmth outside where it belongs.
All right, and then of course the siding.
That's right. So here's an interesting thing. With the floods, it's really helping people realize that their old technology siding, be it vinyl or wood siding, does not stand up to certainly floods, let alone heavy rain. Whereas hardy plank siding is not having to be replaced. If it was touched by water from the floods, hardy plank siding is made of 90% Portland concrete, so you're not having the water infiltration that you are with other types of exterior cladding.
Yeah.
So hardy plank, whether you dealt with the flood or not, is the best way to protect your home from the outside elements.
So between the hardy plank and the windows, where people are looking at pinching pennies and trying to get any kind of money they can back, both those things can actually help you save money. One is on your homeowner's insurance,
right,
with the hardy plank siding,
yep,
right?
That's right. You can save about 10% on your homeowner's insurance with hardy plank siding, about 25% on your energy bills with replacement windows. But the best part is you make your house more comfortable, and by the way, more resaleable. And there's like 500,000 cars flooded. You don't want to buy a used car in Houston for quite a while.
Yeah.
The fact is you want to make sure your home is fixed right if it was flooded. And if it wasn't flooded, you can really dress it up and dramatically increase the value of your home.
All right, and Leonard, tell us about the special you have.
So what we're doing for the first 30 people that call, let us take care of any projects in your home. So we can do the demo, the dry out, and or the build back, and we're doing all those things for you. And by the way, we're offering 18 months no interest financing. So for those folks that didn't have insurance, or if you're going to be waiting for FEMA or some kind of insurance claim, you can get the work done now and you have 18 months to deal with. But for the first 30 callers, we're going to give you a $250 Amazon gift card to help you get some contents replaced in the house as well.
All right, you mentioned that the air conditioner is not on in here. Speaking of air conditioners, it's outside. It gets rained on all the time, so no problem during Harvey, right? Well, there's a difference between getting wet and getting flooded. Some things you need to check on with your air conditioning system when we come back.